Okay, I'd like to bring the meeting to order for the February meeting of the Board of Trustees for the Liberty Lake Municipal Library. First off, we have approval of the minutes and of the last time in our agenda. So let's do the agenda first. There we have the agenda in front of that.
And can you guys grab your mics and turn them on?
Oh, that would be good. My voice is very loud from teaching, but I'll still put it on.
The agenda email that.
Got it? Yeah. No, I can be heard. Okay,
Was the agenda emailed out?
the agenda was emailed out last, well, actually a week and a half ago now.
Yeah, I sent it out before I went away.
There it is.
So if anybody has any, so you can take a look at that and see if there are any additions or deletions you would like to make to the agenda. Okay. No, all good.
I move to approve the agenda.
Okay, could I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda.
A second? Second. Okay, all those in favor, aye? Aye. Okay. All right, now on to the minutes. Quite lengthy. Teresa did a great job, man. I tell you, she got every single word. That was excellent. But I approve them. They were well done, very thorough. Anybody have any corrections to the meeting notes from our last meeting?
No.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting then, please?
I move to approve the minutes.
The second,
Second.
those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so those are approved. All right, thank you. Welcome to visitors in our audience and on Zoom. I am now going to ask if there are any citizens' comments. First off, from anybody in the audience, do we have any comments? None? Okay. Do we have any from Zoom or online, Jandy?
Let me give it 2 seconds. No, I'm not seeing any comments coming through on Zoom.
All right, thank you. All right. So having no comments from citizens, we'll move on. Reports. I don't see our city administrator here today, so I saw him come in the building. So I don't see him. All right. Kim, were you at the last Friends of the Library meeting?
Nope, I can't be until summer.
Got it. Okay. Bob, you were there.
I was there.
Could you give us a rundown of what took place there, if you can remember?
Excuse me. Basically, well, the first thing I wanted to do, and we talked about this towards the end of the meeting, but if you haven't seen all the advertising that we have been putting out there, I know Sean has already bid on several things, but we're in the midst of our February 1st through 10th Valentine's gift, basket auction online. There was some discussion about that at the last meeting. Additionally, at the meeting, Brad talked about the last board of trustees meeting, and it was mentioned that I was joining the board of trustees. There was some discussion about the upcoming potential ordinance change, which was brought to the attention of the Friends. Treasurer was not there. However, the president made, they went through the results from 2022 and status of all of the different accounts. We collected dues from people who needed to pay their dues for the 2023 and there was, discussion about, excuse me, one individual volunteered to pick up Leslie Smith volunteered to pick up leading the book sale function that Lola used to lead, but as president, we need somebody else to lead the book sale, which the first one coming up obviously in June. There was discussion about that, just confirming that the date, our dates will still run Friday and Saturday. However, the Kiwanis yard sale, the citywide yard sale is only on Saturday as opposed to Friday and Saturday as it's been in the past. There was also a meeting scheduled after that for the folks that are involved with the planning and the execution of Summer Soiree. And that's pretty much all I recall without having it sitting right in front of me.
Right, got it. That sounds pretty good to me. I was there. Sounds like a pretty good review.
And also last night, I mean, the same.
I was just gonna ask you if you have an update on how the auction is doing.
I do,
Yes,
since I'm the one who looks at Gale bid every morning.
yeah,
The auction, is run through Gale bid. Right now, we have the total number of baskets that are all sitting in my wife's and my house in various rooms is 19 baskets. There are 19 baskets that were created, donated by, in a couple cases, businesses, but also mostly donated by members of the Friends of the Library. All of those have been, itemized, updated a little bit, and pictures taken, and they've been posted on Gale bid. Right now, through this morning, we were at $936 raised. 100 of that was donations, because one of the items, the 20th item we always put on the Gale bid is the ability, if you don't want to bid on a basket, you can just make a donation through the site, which comes to us through the payment option in the site. So there's $100 in donations. There's $836 in bids so far. Every item has been bid on. Some items have been bid on multiple times. There's still 3 days left. And we've been pushing, from the advertising side of it, we've been pushing it on Facebook. I went back from the Friends and pushed it to people who participated in the past. And I hadn't seen this year as making bids because we can tell who bids. So I sent out an email to everybody reminding them that the auction was on. And then we had sent out 2 emails to all the members of the Friends telling them to tell their friends, family, and acquaintances. Happy to report last night, Tom Sahlberg, who's a member of the Friends, said the same thing and held up the same little poster, in the meeting. So we're pushing it as much as we can. It's open through Friday night at 10 p.m. and we'll know what our total amount is after that.
there's also a basket that's at the library right at the front desk. I like that we continue doing that because we get people that come up and they just ask us, what is this and what is it for? So
Yeah.
we're getting some, I guess, word of mouth advertising that way. And we also have bookmarks
Right.
at the front
The
desk for
QR.
people to take that
We've been pushing the
are on
QR
the basket auction.
to get it.
Yeah, that's pretty cool that we have 19 baskets. That's a lot. And a lot of people put a lot of, like Tom said last night at the council meeting, a lot of love into those baskets. And that's pretty cool. So hopefully it continues to, a lot of people continue to visit and put their bids on those baskets for us. Thank you, Bob. And by the way, I want to officially welcome Bob to the Board of Trustees. Last time he was a visitor sitting out there, but now he is officially been approved by the council and is now a member of our board. So welcome, Bob.
Thank you.
All right, city council report.
So I think pretty much everybody's been in the city council meetings, but at the meeting last night, there were a number of public comments made by members of the community in support of the library and the library board of trustees. And so that was good to hear. there weren't any agenda items on the agenda around the library ordinance, the meeting. Prior to the last one, a workshop, the city council had discussed changing the library ordinance, and I know we're all aware of that. Also, the proposed amendment is to add to the library ordinance under the authority of the Board of Trustees to make changes to the policies and rules and regulations. It would be as approved by the city council. So that is that came out of the workshop, but again, it's not on. It was not an agenda item. My understanding is that it would be an agenda item to discuss at the next city council meeting. So that's the as it pertains to the library.
To the library. All right, thank you. All right, anybody have any questions for Shauna? Well, proceedings there. Okay. So Jandy, your report for the month, please.
So I have a couple things. As you guys remember from last year, we got some money from the ARPA fund to purchase some hotspots and laptops for community use for people to check out. We had decided this year to add money to the budget to purchase 6 more hotspots. So that seems to be our hot ticket item. So we have placed an order for those 6 hotspots. We're just waiting for them to arrive. And once they arrive from TechSoup, we'll be able to catalog those and get them into the system and get them out to the public. The hotspots have been doing a lot better than our laptops. We generally have 2 laptops out at every time. It does seem like this year that it's been consistently the same family, which is fine with me. I'm just happy that they're getting used. But the reason I bring this up is we have received from a community member a donation of 2 brand new laptops. I have not seen them yet. She's bringing them into the library this week. She did fill out a donation form. So I will be bringing that to the next city council meeting for them to accept. Since it's over a certain amount, it has to be approved by the city council. As you guys know, last night, the city council approved our donation of $5,000 that we received from the estate of a community member. There was no specification of what that donation needed to be used for. So we have an additional $5,000. If you guys have any ideas, I'd love to discuss that at a future board meeting. But it's one of those things where in talking with Kyle in finance, it's something that we could spend this year on something, or that we could, put in the future library funds. Since there isn't any designation, we can use it for whatever we want. So I'm hoping to get some input from you guys, from my librarians, just so we can spend that money in the best possible way.
So I have a question, Jandy. Does the library have a separate account in the city budgeting process for donations where those can sit until they're used, or
Yes.
how does that? Is there a special line item for that?
Yes, so it'll be in a special line item in the city account. And then when we decide to use it, we let them know that we want to use this donation money for that.
Okay,
So
great.
it's just one of those things where, like our general budget is money that we need to spend before the end of the year. And this is something where we can use it this year, or if we don't,
Whenever you need it or want to use it or apply it.
yes.
Okay.
So
So my other question is, how many total hotspots will the library now have?
So, 11. So, it's just one of those things, when we get those 2 laptops, I'm going to, look over them with Todd and see if they're ones that we can make check outable for patrons, or if it's something that we'll want, that can go to their home. In which case I would want to get hotspots for them to make it a full kit like the rest of our laptop kits are. Or if it's something that we would use internally, whether for a staff member or we do have laptops that people can just check out and take to a table and use. So we have multiple options. It's just one of those things where we're very grateful for the donation, but I don't know all the specs on the laptop. And if we can have it's one of those things where if it's going to be used by the public, I want it to have the software that can wipe it after they use it for their privacy and for our own safety. Just so we make sure that there isn't any personal information on them once they get back.
As far as the donation, if it's not used this year, it goes into next year, do you know, does the city treat it still as a donation, or would they look at it as, oh, they have already 5,000 in their account, so we're going to budget 5,000?
I think that it's a special donation designation regardless.
Okay.
It's just one of those things where we can use it specifically as a donation now or later, or if we so choose, we could just put it in the account that we have growing for the new library.
Okay.
So. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to update you guys on is we are in the process of securing a point of sale software. So right now with our library ILS, Koha, that we use for everything, it has an accounting software. But then we also have separate accounting software that we use with our bank to take credit cards and that sort of thing. And then our staff also has to bring it into our cash register. So it's kind of like a 3, 4, 5 multi-step process. One of my staff members went to a conference in September for Koha and learned that companies have started developing point of sale softwares that integrate with Koha. So Koha is open source. And so in past years when we've looked, we haven't been able to find one for Koha. They have them for more popular, like CRC Dynex kind of ILS systems, but not one for Koha. So we were really thrilled that we were able to find that. We were able to find 3 companies that provide this software, and which is great because, we need multiple bids with the city. And so we were able to talk with 3 different companies. And we've chosen to move forward with Envisionware. Ironically, Envisionware, we already have a contract with them. They do all of our patron computer software logins for printing and for just logging into the computer, wiping the computer after patrons are done using it. So we do already have a relationship with them. And so I've been working with Mark to get this all approved. And so in March, we're going to start the installation. So basically what the software is going to do is that it integrates with Koha. And so it makes our multi-step process into just 1 or 2 steps. It also gives us a Verifone credit card terminal, like you see at Safeway or anywhere else that you go nowadays, which we are really happy to have because now we'll just have a credit card terminal that's mounted on the desk, like you see anywhere else that you go. And it protects us in that now my staff is no longer handling people's credit cards, manually typing in their numbers or manually swiping it. It kind of adds that extra layer of security for my staff and also for the patrons because they are now, in possession of their credit card the entire time of the transaction. So it just adds another layer of safety there. So that's great. So they are going to be coming in March. We're going to be doing a remote installation on the computer. So they'll be doing it from wherever their company is. Todd will be there to oversee the installation, our IT person. And then their staff is going to train our entire staff on how to use it. So our plan is for that morning to close the library so that we can do training. They're going to do like a web training, and then we're going to do a hands-on training with staff to get them all comfortable. So that's the biggest thing that we've been working on lately. Sorry, I see, looks like your question.
Yeah, just a question. So
Yeah.
what sort of items would the public purchase at the library?
Oh, so yeah, we are not Safeway. We don't do a bunch of transactions. This would be used for patrons paying for printing, black and white printing, color printing, and then if they have lost items. So if they lose a book and they owe us $19.99 or something, that's what they'll be paying for. We don't have, traditional fines. So we definitely don't handle a ton of large purchases at the library. So, but we're just excited to have Verifone because it's very quick and easy. It's kind of irritating for patrons when it's like, I made 30 cents worth of copies and it's going to take you 7 minutes to take my credit card. So it is the convenience, so they don't have to have cash, but it is a little bit more labor intensive. So this will make it quicker on the patron side and also hopefully lead to less mistakes on a staff side when they aren't having to do 5 different steps in order to take 30 cents on a credit card or 30 cents in cash.
And that's all processed through Envisionware, correct? It's not, their credit cards aren't being saved.
No, no. So we are working with our bank and with Verifone and with Envisionware, filling out all the documents to make sure that everything is as it should be and nothing's getting saved.
Okay. And this is purely going to be handled by the librarians. We're not putting payer fees on the website, correct?
No, so we will not have pay your fees on the website. Some libraries also have pay at the self-check systems. Ours are not fancy enough for that. And we are not like the most high traffic library where I feel like we need to have it available on every self-check system at this point, at least.
It's safer anyway, and then,
Yeah.
and then when we put it on a website, then there's PCI compliance issues and.
Yeah.
It's just way simpler.
There are technically PCI compliance issues, in the terminal-based world too, but if Envisionware, if the Envisionware is connecting your terminal and the software directly to your processor, then that all should be going encrypted, so it should be okay.
Yes, and we've been working with Kyle, finance director, and then Anne Marie, who's our city treasurer. They've been attending the meetings and making sure that all of that is above board too. Yeah, because that's not my area of expertise. I'm realizing I need to plug in my laptop.
Yeah, IT tends to be the comprehensive when negotiating.
Running out of power.
Oh, I think it was, yeah, sorry, I think I bumped the owl's cord when I was plugging my laptop in. So we're back. And that's everything that I have for you guys today.
Right. Does anybody have any questions for Dan, other than ones that have already been asked? Okay, so we're on to business. First up on business is the library ordinance. And Shauna, you have a review of the rewording and all that. I know you sent it out to us, but
Yeah.
could you just kind of verbalize it? Did I call you Janny?
No.
Okay.
Or at least I didn't hear
I was
that.
thinking Janny and I was going, "Did I sound her Dan?" It's all right, so. Can I just give a brief little, before you do
Yeah.
that? So I'm gonna give a brief little thing that I have been experiencing in regards to this ordinance. I've been in conversation with, both the mayor and Phil Boyer. And I have expressed my concern about having to make, as a trustee, having to make as a citizen, I'm limited to 3 minutes, and I've asked a couple different times for an opportunity for a dialogue to occur, so that there's actually an exchange, and there's some things that can be said without having to say, okay, your time's up. So I've asked for that. And I haven't heard anything back about whether or not an opportunity will be provided for us to do that. That's something we might want to discuss as we go through the ordinance, how if we want that to happen, how we want to approach the city and the council to make that happen. So, as you know, I was also approached by the spokesman review for comment, and provided comment for the spokesman review in regards to the library ordinance. So that's where we're at. I'm waiting for some return phone calls on whether or not there will be an opportunity for us to have dialogue with the council prior to any course of decision making that goes on with the new wording. So you're on.
Yeah, and to that point, I mean, it is well within the city council's purview to change any ordinance. That's their job. They don't need input from us. They're not required to ask for input. But I was in a meeting this morning about the camping ordinance that the city council is considering, and they're looking for input from city departments and different administration and community members. I mean, it was a large meeting. GND was also in the meeting. So I don't see consistency in what is, you know, they're not asking for input in changing the ordinance, but they're not required to. So they can do that. Yeah.
From a process standpoint, because there was an implication last night, and maybe I misheard it from Mark, but when the question was asked, why is the ordinance not on, last night's agenda? And he said that because we were going to have the library board of trustees meeting, and then it would be on the next agenda. And I guess it wasn't an act, but it was implied like, if you look through all of the different things, whether it's a resolution or an ordinance, I guess I need kind of a refresher on if they want to make a change to an ordinance, does that first have to go through the process of being read twice? So we're talking a minimum of 2 meetings. We're talking the next one on the, whatever, the 17th, whatever it is. And then the 1, 2 weeks or 3 weeks after that. And does reading of the ordinance require public comments?
It does.
But it can only be the 3 minutes.
It's only the 3 minutes. You can see, so we're right back to the same situation. There's no dialogue. And to me, that dialogue is important.
I had had a thought that I was going to suggest to you guys today. Each quarter, as you know, we're required to give a library board of trustees report to the council. My thought had been if we could get on the next agenda to do a library board report, we could do our regular report where we, report on different statistics, talk about our meeting room, talk about some statistics from the last year, talk about what our goals are for this year, what policies we're looking at, and then also just relate to them our discussion from this meeting on the ordinance. And if we had an ask where we could do it in that report and say, we'd like to have a joint workshop, or or just give them a summary. This is where we are with the ordinance. This is how we feel, and give them our input then. So I just thought in that way, we could have our be able, you guys could say your piece. It's not limited to 3 minutes. I believe with the report, they can ask questions of us. And then we could say, hey, we'd like to have a meeting with you, or hey, this is how the Board of Trustees feels about the ordinance, and these are our suggestions. So that's just a thought I had that we could do on the meeting at the 21st.
And
Have to think about that.
whatever happened with, Phil, the one that suggested a meeting with the library board and the city council, and then that got canceled.
Well, let me give you a little bit of input on that as well, or a review on that. So I met with Phil, after that statement that he made. And, after we had that discussion, I talked with him and, we agreed and, that he had, thought it would be a good idea, and I agreed with him, that the, council, have a workshop to discuss the ordinance and get the legal purview of what changes would mean, how it would mean if we changed this, if we did that, how would the wording be if we did this, or whatever changes they want to make to the ordinance. So on that night that a proposed change, and a motion was made to make a change, I was surprised. It's like, my understanding at the time was, and I've told Phil this, so this is not anything that I haven't already said to Phil. Maybe I misunderstood, but I was surprised that there was actually a motion made and then supported to move on, because my opinion was they were going to have their discussion and then they were going to invite us into the discussion. Well, the invitation for us into the discussion did not happen. So that's in response to your concern.
And I don't know historically what, if Mark had been here today, he may have been able to give more insight, but I don't know historically what has been the process for changes to ordinances. Is there a working group that they put together like they have for the meeting Jandy and I attended today? Is it generally just that the city council has a workshop, discusses it and makes a change? Not that what they've done in the past means they have to continue doing it in the future. There's been a lot of contention around the issue in general, and so I feel like the parties aren't talking to each other, or don't want to talk to each other, or I don't know what. And if we've reached out and said, look, we'd like to have a discussion about this, and they don't want to, they don't have to.
Well, they don't, and
Yeah.
we have reached out.
Yeah.
My conversation.
Yeah.
With Bill, we have reached out.
So they don't want to.
And I haven't, I'm still waiting for the actual invitation
And I have
for
not
us to have that conversation.
seen any community input in support of changing the ordinance. I've only heard and seen community input saying we don't want you to make that change, and yet the city council says they're responsive to the voters. So
Could you read
To the
the,
extent that they were all elected or not.
could I ask you to actually read the wording for the change in
Yeah.
that line? Would you do that?
Yeah,
for us, please?
yeah, so it's section of the ordinance 119B. It is what my understanding of what was proposed, and again, there have not been minutes presented with everything, but it's in section 6, Board of Trustees, subsection G, powers and duties. The Board of Trustees shall have the power and duty to do the following. So it's 6G1. Adopt such bylaws, rules, and regulations for the guidance of the Board of Trustees and for the use of the Liberty Lake Public Library. That's the existing ordinance. The proposed amendment is subject to city council approval.
Yeah.
And at that city council meeting, when immediately following the workshop, I brought up that's So what does that mean? Does that, if we bring a policy or a rule or the bylaws change and they don't approve it, do they rewrite it and make their own policy? Do they say, no, it's not approved, go back? And then is it a year of back and forth until we write exactly what they want? And then, okay, so the existing policy is in place until we can both agree. I don't know what
Right.
actually that means.
It muddies the water big time for any kind of decision making. And
Well, you could extend it too, because in a number of the policies, because I've been going through the policies that exist, in a number of the policies, the Board of Trustees has the authority to act on, for example, waiving fines or something like that. Does, that insertion of that language then mean that where that's written in a policy, the circulation policy, that the board has the authority to, is the only authority to, waive fines or lost books or, collection? Does that mean that has to come before the council?
well, if you look at the way they want to reword it, it means that everything, any policy that we approve, disapprove, or whatever is subject to their approval. That is, so they're inserting themselves into every decision that would come our way. So I'm not really, I just want to have a conversation. The problem with making citizen comments is that it's a very short time. Sometimes you can come off as being maybe, I'm speaking for myself, as being angry or something like that, when really, I just want to be able to talk. It's not, and I want to be able to have that exchange of ideas and ask questions. What is the reason for changing the ordinance? What do they hope to gain by changing the ordinance? Those kinds of discussions, I think, are important. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
Yes, so, I think I mentioned this to you guys individually. I attended a director meeting in Seattle this last week. And there was some talk about boards of trustees and that sort of thing. And I was in a group with some other libraries of our similar size, two of which, or I guess three of which are municipalities. And one of them was just mentioning that their ordinance and their board bylaws are extremely vague. And that has led to some conflict with in their case, the city manager and also the city council, in that there can be lack of consistency at different times. So at certain times, their board is coming to them with XYZ, and they're like, oh yeah, that sounds great. And then other times they're like, why is this coming to us? You guys should just be able to take care of this. And then other times it's, why didn't you bring this to us? So if there's going to be any updates to our ordinances, I do think it needs to be the expectations need to be extremely clear, because I feel like the wording is very vague and could lead to more contention if it's, why aren't you coming to us with this? Or why are you bothering us with this? So.
Well, I think we also have to be clear. This has come about because of a change to one policy. And that is a challenge to books that are in our library and banning a book. And so that's why this, again, this ordinance is being looked at by the council, and the suggested change is being made. Because we took, in that policy, we made the end of the challenge the board of trustees.
Which was advised by our legal counsel.
Which is advised by many organizations, by legal counsel,
Library.
by the Library Association, by the free, I mean, you can go down the list. So these are the kinds of conversations I want to have with the people that are making the decision.
It also alleviates a legal risk to the city council because the library board of trustees has agreed to uphold the
Freedom
standards,
to read.
the freedom to read statement, the American Library Association's other policies on what books belong in public libraries.
The Library Bill of Rights
so,
and
yeah.
the First Amendment.
Yes, and so the library board of trustees will, I can't imagine any instance where we would vote to ban a book. I really truly can't, given all of that information. But when it goes to a political body, there are other things that are being considered other than, free access to information. There's other motivations, there's, how do I get reelected? There are things that that are considered other than open access to information, which is what we have all agreed the library should stand for. When those other motivations are called in and books are voted on to be banned, it opens the city up to lawsuit. If that had gone through and passed, the city would have been sued. It's saving the city from that liability.
Well, see, we're having this discussion. This is what I would like to have discussion with the city council.
But
This is
they
what-
don't want to
this
have
is-
that discussion.
This is why that discussion is important, why I keep asking for it, and I'll keep asking for it and keep pushing for it. Prior to any motion to approve, any motion for a vote. I'll keep pushing for it. That doesn't mean it will happen. That doesn't mean it'll happen at all, but I am going to continue to push for that to happen. Because I think it's important. I think it's important for our citizens. And we are here to oversee a entity, the library, that provides numerous opportunities for learning, for activities, for social engagement of young people. I consider it a duty to protect the rights of all citizens in our community, regardless of race, gender identity, or anything, to have free access to material, to read and to explore. And so that's why I'm pretty passionate about this whole thing and this proposed change to the ordinance. I will also say one other thing. She's not here to defend herself, but I'm going to, I wish she was. Again, this is part of the conversation. We haven't been allowed into the conversation, but Council Member Wendy Van Orman has said several times that the board has always in the past had to have approval or bring things for approval to the council. If you read all of the previous or the beginning ordinance and the First Amendment ordinance, it has been the same. There's nothing that has ever been put in that says subject to approval by the council.
Yeah, and other council members, including the mayor, said, well, that was done in the past. It hasn't been done for years. So I think that members of the council or the mayor, that was dispelled at the meeting.
And I just don't know if there's confusion between us giving them a report, because, we've given quarterly reports since 2001. If, if there's just been a report, this is the policies that we've updated and this is what they would entail, if that was confused as,
Well, that could have been confused as the approval
yeah,
process.
it was just giving our
Giving-
quarterly update reports,
Correct.
so.
And Jamie and Shauna, would you expect that if the possibility of the city being sued because of the decision resting with the city council, would you expect that the city legal counsel would be telling them, hey, look, you can't do that, you're gonna get, it's best to keep them separate. So the city attorneys wouldn't be telling the council members to,
When, in the meeting, when they were voting whether or not to ban the book, I didn't hear the city council, city attorney say you may be opening yourself up to lawsuit.
No, he never made a comment. So they have the authority to change the ordinance to whatever they want.
No, but I mean, during the book
Right.
ban discussion itself,
Oh, I see.
I did not hear the attorney advise the city council that, oh, and by the way, you may potentially be opening yourself up to a First Amendment lawsuit.
so I would hope that if they look to change this ordinance, that that's on his radar too.
I don't know, I'm not, I don't advise the city attorney like,
Right, I know, but you have more experience with that kind of thing than I do, so that's why.
there are numerous cases and the ALA has a whole page dedicated to case law
Right.
on First Amendment rights and challenges to library books.
And at my director meeting, obviously we discussed censorship. And it was told that currently in the United States, there was 3 civil liberties lawsuits to other places where books have been banned. I think they were mainly for schools.
Yeah.
But there was 3 current lawsuits with the American Civil Liberties Union.
So I guess my question to you, members of the trustee board, how would you like to move forward with the ordinance? Would you like to make a formal request? I have just been talking to Phil. Would you like to make a formal request in an email to the mayor and all the council members asking for a conversation prior to any vote that might take place on this, or how would you like to move forward?
I think, even just a meeting like the one that we had this morning to discuss the other ordinance, changes to ordinances. I mean, it seems like it's a standard thing that the city does, but I've only got experience with the 2 ordinances now. So I can't say how standard it is. I think it's, I don't know who's in charge of that though. Mark seemed to be in charge of a discussion. So maybe we ask Mark. I don't know.
Yeah, I think Mark would have to be I think he oversees the, putting the agenda together and organizing that as a city administrator. I think he could do that.
So-
Or the mayor.
The
He
city
also
clerk
is.
does the agenda. Our city clerk does the agendas for city council meetings.
Right, but he kind of directs how that is going to look, right? I mean, he is a city oversees the whole city, and I know she puts them together, but she has to get the information about what to put on there.
We have weekly Tuesday meetings with all of the directors, where we say the things that we need to add to the agenda. So that's every single Tuesday.
Got it.
So my thought would be either an email, or I had suggested if we give a report, I can get us on the next meeting for a report and we could personally ask.
But that doesn't, I mean, again, that's a report of us reporting on something. It's not guaranteed.
Yeah.
Discussion.
Well, and it sets you up if I wasn't here, so I'm just piecing the history from all the videos that I watch and listen to. It also sets you up for another situation where you're making it a part of the report and you're making your opinions, our opinions, because now I'm part of our opinions as board of trustees, part of this report, and my sense is, given the tension that seems to exist, is you're gonna be accused again of being disingenuous, using the quarterly, report that you're required to give to get on your soapbox, without calling that.
Right.
So,
The other question I had was, if you watch the video of the Crim 2, segment last night,
I haven't mentioned.
if you watch that segment, Mark is the one that talked. Okay, and it basically said, nobody from the council, nobody from the board, was available. Mark talked about the fact that he seemed to imply that there was gonna be more ability for citizen input. And it was literally that way. This is not just because they voted in a workshop, and he said, just because they voted, this is the discussion about changing the ordinance will involve more input from everybody involved.
I interpreted that as the citizen comments.
So I don't know if that's all he was referring to.
This is where everything has kind of been, there needs to be clarification. And I think we need to ask for clarification on the procedure going forward for how this ordinance will be discussed or brought up for vote.
Yeah.
What is the procedure? Is there now I've gone to the state website to find out what the procedure is for changing an ordinance. Like a lot of things with the state, it's here. So there doesn't seem to be a real, you have to have a public meeting, you have to have this or that. But I would like to have some clarification on the city's intention to move forward with the how they want to move forward with this particular one. And I don't know, you guys will have to weigh in and help me out on this one. How do we make ourselves our requests known to the council, the mayor, and the city administrator?
I think an email from the board asking for a joint workshop as contemplated in, was it the December city council meeting when it
That's
was
when the
proposed?
suggestion was made, yeah.
To discuss the changes to the ordinance.
I would be good with it.
Who wants to draft it?
It can come from anybody.
You've
Had an open discussion about that, but
Yeah, I've had a discussion and I have, like I said, but we can make it a formal, email.
Yeah.
To all the council members. As to our,
Yeah, I would suggest you draft it based on just like recapping your discussion. And then we can all weigh in.
okay, so,
and you're officially the president.
yeah.
It
Yeah,
it
yeah, I
probably
got-
could come from you.
I'm aware.
But it would make sense that it would also, as president, you're reporting the views of the board of trustees.
Okay, so I will work on an email. I'll send it out to you guys for comment, for review. If you guys give a stamp of approval or whatever changes you have, I'll send it out again, and then with approval, I'll send it off to the councilman and the city administrator.
I mean, we can't just be as simple as,
Yeah,
you've unofficially asked for a meeting, and the library board would officially like to ask for a meeting
for that meeting to occur.
to occur that
Yeah.
was discussed in the December city council meeting.
Right.
Exactly.
It doesn't need to set out an agenda or what
Right.
we need to discuss.
No, because the action on that email then would drive any future
Any
direction.
future discussion. Right. Okay, well, I'll put that together, send it out to you guys, and try to get it out so that I can get it to the council members by at least the end of the week or beginning of next week.
I would just try to do it as soon as possible in case they would like to act on it for the next meeting.
Right, that's why I said end of the week or beginning of next week. The next meeting is for the 21st.
Yes.
And it is supposed to be on the agenda for the 21st meeting. That's
Yes.
what I was told.
But their agenda could change.
But if we can make our request known, then maybe if it's put on the agenda, it could be put on as a open joint workshop between us and the council and the city,
For the
citizens.
community, yeah.
Yeah, for the community, correct.
Then that gives them an answer for all of the, because if Cram picked it up from the spokesman review, the other two aren't gonna be far behind, and they're gonna continue with requests about what is going on.
And there was our.
Yeah,
Splash.
Splash is.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so I'll get that out to you guys, as soon as I can, hopefully this evening or tomorrow, and then we can move forward with that. Okay, any other comments about the ordinance or the direction we want to move? Okay, good. So now we are on to, the library policy review, and Jandy has, a couple of them for us. Okay, Jandy, you're on again.
Does everyone have their hard copies as well? I just know I can't see that from over here.
I can't see it from here.
Actually, they don't have it.
This is the meeting room policy.
Yes.
Okay.
Right, got it.
So as you know, we approved our new meeting room policy on November 10th, 2022, after we had added our new library study room. It's only been 2-3 months, but I did receive some feedback from staff that I wanted to bring to your attention. This has specifically been an issue with our study room, is that a member of the community will make a meeting room request for Thursday from noon to 2, and they won't show up for the reservation at noon. So, I mean, sometimes people just won't show up at all, which is fine, because then members of the community can just walk in and use the room. But we have had the issue where somebody reserved at noon to 2, they show up at 12:45. Somebody is using the room now and they're wanting staff to kick them out of the room when they were 45 minutes late for their reservation. So staff brought this to my attention at our last staff meeting, and their suggestion has been, could we add to our meeting room use policy that if you don't arrive within 15 minutes of your reservation, that the room will be forfeited and can go to a member of the community who just walks in and wants to use the room. So I wanted to get you guys' thoughts and feelings on that.
I agree.
Like a really reasonable.
That's a reasonable.
Yeah.
thing.
Exactly. The thought has been like, that's just kind of like what it would be at Olive Garden. So,
Yeah.
that was my, suggested updates. So I put it, at the bottom of the first page where it said, use of the meeting room,
Oh, yeah.
right at the top.
I do see users is on there twice. I don't know if it's meant to be a heading and then.
No, I think that's me just typing
Okay.
twice. That's
Yep. I think it's,
So Janny, would you like us to approve the changes that are made?
So I didn't know if you wanted to leave this for the next meetings in case we have community feedback. And we could do this one and our circulation policy at the same time. Or if this was a small enough change that you were comfortable making it today.
I'm comfortable with that today.
How do you guys feel about that?
Yeah.
Are you making a decision on this today?
yeah, I don't think we, this isn't that,
I don't see it being a big.
no, I don't think this is something that needs major, input. On our policies, we're not required to post and get community feedback
No.
and all of that. If there's something we need to research, then, we'll do our due diligence in that. I don't think, I'd say I move to accept the amendment with the correction of type of users in there. 20 seconds.
So, Are you moving to?
Yep.
Okay, we got a second, okay? That one. I was looking at what you were saying, and I was like, I heard a second. I'm going, "Just
like, it's a common sense, like. Of course, why do you put that in the system?
Yeah.
Well, you don't think you need to.
Yeah, you don't really, yeah. Okay, all those in favor of approval, the motion, all right, okay. Good.
Okay.
You're good to go.
So I will make the users edits and get this uploaded to the website. My staff will be thrilled. So let me switch over to the circulation policy, which has more edits than this. So this is our circulation policy. It was last updated in June of 2020. So this outlines what we expect of members of the community who get a library card with us. All of their access is free. We expect borrowers to return the material on time and to treat them with care. We don't charge fines, but your borrowing privileges will be suspended if you have damaged material, lost materials. If you have a large enough amount of a large enough bill, it's going to go to a collection agency after a certain amount of time. It's our borrower's responsibility to know the due dates of when their stuff is due. That they return the books in good condition and all materials are returned by their due date. They must pay the fees incurred for any damaged or lost items. And
That last bullet,
Yeah.
I'm wondering, it seems like implicit permission to loan your card or materials to others.
oh, so I think it's saying that if you lend, yeah, the wording on this is funny. So I'm starting this, but I think what it's saying is if you lend your card to another individual and they incur fines, it is still your responsibility because you gave them that card.
Do we allow people to check out books on someone else's card?
Yes, we have a self-check. We have a self-check, so anyone can walk up with a card and check something out.
But
We're saying it's your responsibility to keep your card or know that your child has your card or your friend has your card. It's your responsibility, not our responsibility to.
So that means we're implicitly allowing people to loan their library card to others to check out books.
Yes, a lot of families, because we have a 50 item limit, they have one card for their family. The mom uses it, the daughter uses it, the dad uses it.
Okay.
Some families will have individual cards and each of their kids have a card, they have their own card. A lot of people will do that with their kids, responsibility, take care of your card. With the dog, that kind of stuff, so.
Andy, is there any time, because in the beginning of the policy, it says library expects library card holders, is there any time when somebody wouldn't be a card holder that would borrow materials?
No, you do have to have a card in order to borrow materials. So, sorry, I'm just trying to think. I think we have to kind of reword that last.
No, it's clear, that last bullet's clear, I just wasn't aware, and your explanation of it makes perfect sense, because I have checked out children's books for my kids under my card. I was the responsible one for it, and when they got their own cards and stuff, sometimes we check it out. So it, of course, that happens, I just wasn't aware that, yes, we would allow people to check out books on. So
Yes,
that makes sense.
the whole,
Has there ever been any problems with, someone who has allowed their card to be borrowed and there's been a damage damage and they said, hey, I'm not doing this because I lent it to that person, it's their responsibility. Have you ever had any kind of a problem with that? That since you've been in the library?
I wouldn't say it's a huge issue. Sometimes we will have, an issue where a parent then wants the child to pay because, they spilled water all over the book. The parent says, I'm gonna bring my child back because I want my child to pay for this book themselves and have that experience.
Yeah.
But they take care of it.
Yes, but they take care of it.
Right.
We do have people who do not want to pay for their items, for sure. That's why we have had to employ a collection agency, because either they will come in and say no, or they will just kind of ghost us. And we do need to recover those materials, so
But we
have a
don't-
collection agency for a reason.
Yeah, but we don't have an issue of.
A
I
daily
let
issue.
Brad borrow my library card and he never returned the book, and I said, well, you let Brad check it out on my card, so go collect from him.
No.
That's what.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what-
I guess the most consistent thing that we encounter is with hold, which is the next line. This just says that borrowers can place up to 15 holds at a time. And you can have up to 100 holds on CIN items. So you can put a lot of holds on books.
What about, does that include the Washington Anytime Library item?
No, Washington Anytime Libraries is separate. Washington Anytime Libraries, you can have 5 books at a time and 5 holds at a time. But that's dictated kind of at the state level. These are for our physical items. This policy is everything physical. With our holds, someone will place the hold on an item. It will go grab it off the shelf, or it will be sent via the courier. We put all of our holds on the hold shelf. We do require that if someone who is not the person who put the book on hold pick up those holds, that there is a note on the account that says that individual can check out those holds, if that makes sense. We want to maintain a level of privacy. So it's one of those things where a wife needs to put on her card that her husband has permission to pick up her holds. We do not require it for children. Mom can come pick up the child's holds, but we do require it for adults. So what we do there is we have a place when you get your library card that you can put a note of who you want to be able to check out your holds. If someone just shows up and says, hey, my grandma asked me to pick up these holds for her, and there is not a note on her account that says that's okay, we just call that individual and say, hi, grandma, is it really okay that Sam picks up your holds? She says yes, and then we put that note on the account for the future.
That sounds like a constant approach.
Yes, so that's what we do.
And is that a system? It's just internally in the ILS. When they reach 15 homes, they just can't add more to it.
Yes. So I would say that's the issue that comes up most common is just adding those notes to the account of who can pick up their hold.
Is there, in here, how long you'll keep an item on the holds list before you reshelve it, or on the holds shelf before you reshelve it?
Yes, it's 5 business days.
Okay.
Is how long.
Is that in the policy here?
I didn't see it, so we may want to add
I
that.
want to add
I don't want, it may not ever be an issue, but somebody, leaves it there for 2 weeks, and because if it's on hold, it's on hold.
It's like the meeting room. You don't
Yeah. You don't show
Come
up.
in 5 days.
Yes,
Have-
I know within the ILS, it has that number set.
Yeah.
And so it does say that in the email that goes out to the individuals, or if they log onto their account, they say that it says, it'll show them, you have 3 days left on your hold or that sort of thing. But we can add that under here to the policy. The holds will be kept on the shelf for 5 business days.
Yeah. I
Yes,
think that just clarifies it.
Yeah. I think also, should we clarify that it's physical materials? Because, I mean, I got confused, because I use Libby all the time, and I'm bouncing between, you know, Washington Anytime and CIN. But those are all electronic items, so it's not what you just said, this is all about our physical materials or things that we transfer from one other CIN library to ours. So maybe we just need to clarify that if we're clarifying.
Is there a limit on holds for electronic resources?
Libby has 5,
Okay.
so it's 5 and 5 for them.
So we should probably clarify that then, because I would have thought, okay, I can put a hold on 15 items total, physical and electronic resources.
But it is weird too, because you can put a hold out there. You know, but it's not, you know, you're waiting in line kind of things, you're not really holding.
Yes, yeah, you're in line until.
You're in
the
line.
You're still here, exactly.
So is your thought that somewhere in the first paragraph, we make a note that this policy pertains to physical items? Is that what you're basically saying?
Well, Bob, help me out here. So if it's electronic, it's really not something you're shelving and they're waiting for you to pick it up. You're getting in line to pick something up. So that's different than having something put on hold and put on the shelf for you. It is different, yeah.
And
In my sense, it's not so much that, I mean, maybe we don't have to clarify that it's physical, but maybe we just have to clarify that, you know, use of the electronic access, whatever we call Libby and Overdrive. You know, use of that has separate rules relative to holds, and don't even address it, other than say that's separate from this.
yeah, and I know that the loan period is different, through Libby and.
And can be dictated by the patron themselves.
Yeah.
Exactly,
Yeah,
and
either 7 or 14.
and how many days you have to check out your loan. Once it splits from hold to your item is available for download, you only have a certain number of days to download it. Also, you have to claim it, or else it goes back into the queue to the person. So I mean, it's nice because it's all an automated system, and I can't imagine, I mean, it's all, if you're using Libby, you see all of that. But I think just putting that the electronic resources, Audible and ebooks, or what they're not called Audible, books on tape or whatever.
Are subject to the
Are
rules
subject
of those
to-
individuals.
Yes, because that's a completely different policy. We don't handle any of those. Those are handled by the state library themselves.
Yeah.
So book challenges, anything with them goes through them.
So I think that if we just, because audiobooks are on here, but that means audiobooks that are like on a physical, like if somebody gets a CD.
Right.
Yeah, somebody's phone's ringing.
Sorry, I thought I got a request to join the meeting, so I had to shut everything off.
Oh,
And now
got
I don't
it.
see a meeting room request, so.
I thought you were looking up because you heard the phone button. So we can just say for, this policy applies to the items.
Just this policy applies to physical items.
Located in the library.
But it's just physical items, because CIN aren't necessarily located.
True.
in the line.
And not electronic resources available through the,
State library or.
Yeah.
through the Libby app or through the
Mhm.
app. What would you call it? What would we call it?
I just might just say, not for electronic resources, because then that
Perfect.
covers everything.
Perfect,
Perfect.
perfect.
That's good, we're trying to overcomplicate.
Yes. It's like, I don't want to say Libby, because what if we switch and it's not Libby anymore? What if-
Jandy, on the item type where it says holiday picture books, they're allowed to check out 100.
So this is the thing I wanted to talk to you guys about. So if, because it's, it's changed for me, even from when I did this document the other day. So if you look at our original document, it has a list of how many items of each, basically each kind of item that you can check out. Sorry, my screen got all weird from closing out. Okay, there, that's better. So if you look down here where it says item type, it lists all of the different items that we have. It lists the loan period, which is how many days they can check it out. And then it lists a checkout limit and then the renewals. If you notice, it's kind of like in the past, we broke everything down. You can see my little red lines where I've crossed stuff out. What I would like to do is not list out every single type of item and how many you can have, and just say that your checkout limit for items from the library is 100 altogether.
Okay. got it.
So not say you can only have 10 DVDs and 5 magazines and 3 holiday books. Just say you can have 100 items.
So in that checkout limits and loan periods, the maximum number of items a library user may have checked out at any one time is at 100.
Yes,
So it says 50 now, you want to change that to 100?
yes. So it's been 50. I would like to bump it up to 100 because we've had 50 since the beginning of the library, which we were in the beginning of a very small library. We did not have very many physical items. And before we joined CIN, we only had the items that were on our shelf. From my research, standard number seems to be 100 for most places. And it's one of those things where it's really difficult in the ILS to make it know really that you have 10 DVDs. So it's kind of been more of a staff thing. And so I feel like to keep it simple, we just say that it's 100.
Okay. And then with that, there would still be loan period
Yes,
limits that are different per item.
yes. So I would like to keep this line that says the loan period because you know DVDs only check out for 7 days. DVD series that we have to check out for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Fiction and generally everything else checks out for 28 days. And then we do get 2 renewals on everything unless there's a hold.
Yeah.
And we keep ILLs down here at the bottom because those vary depending on the lending library itself.
So you would just eliminate the whole checkout limit column.
Yeah, and I would just kind of put something down towards, I would just kind of eliminate the whole column and then just kind of at the bottom of that column, put 100 items total.
Or just at the top.
Yes, or just at the top,
Where
we
it
have
says
the,
sentence at the top.
Yeah, the sentence at the top says it.
yes.
You just kill the whole column, you're good, because you still need the loan period.
Yes,
And you can even remove the renewal column because it says below most part of the materials may be.
It already says 2 times.
Yes.
Yes. So that already.
Yeah, we say most.
You don't need that.
True, right, obviously, most items will be. used
Yeah,
twice.
and then it even has the caveat for unless or the material belong to a collection. Otherwise,
Yeah, down below.
that would.
Yeah, it says it right down below.
So Danny, I'm just thinking, and instead of, and I think it's a good idea to have the 100 limit for all things, but I'm wondering if there is any need to put an exception on anything. Instead of listing everything, you could just say except for, if there's anything that you think could be depleted to the point where no one else would get access to those items. I don't know if there are, but I'm just saying, if there is a need in the future, it could be just said 100 items except for DVDs or something like that, which are limited to 50 or 10 or whatever.
But as you said, there's no way.
But that might be kind of hard to monitor.
Yeah.
Do we have 100 DVDs in the collection?
I don't know. Well, probably not anymore.
To start.
it helps that we're a consortium, so we do have patrons who each week, when we get a shipment, we get a stack of DVDs for them every week. So, yeah. But I would say that's like my biggest thing that I kind of wanted to update was the 100 item limits for everything and not really spacing out individual columns. If you noticed, I just wanted to point out that there are some categories that I'm going to strike completely from this list because we do not have those items anymore. So we used to have most wanted books. Now we just have new books. We used to have J Music CDs. Now we do not have any more J Music CDs. We don't have children's craft kits. I just kind of changed that to children's kits. Because we do have, phonics kits that the kids can check out, and other libraries have STEM kits and that sort of thing that they can check out. So I just kind of made that easier and just said children's kits, to encompass everything. And then we do no longer have the Nooks that people can check out. We don't have the Kindles that teens can check out. So I completely striked those from the list as well. So I just wanted to point out to you guys, because I feel like I was focusing on the numbers, that there are some collections that we don't have anymore that are just getting updated.
We can also just put a catch-all, the checkout limit in one period, the maximum number to be checked out at one time is 100. Most items will renew 2 times, and we can delete that sentence. It's renewals already says it. But we can also put some sort of catch-all of items other than the types listed below will be at the discretion of the librarian.
Okay,
Because if you do add a new category, then, go ahead and set whatever that policy is for that new category of book.
I guess the only other thing that I would want to add a line for is that, so we're gonna say that the maximum number of books you can check out, of items you can check out is 100. Most items will renew 2 times.
Okay.
I guess it does say
All
most.
items are, or most?
No,
Most,
we don't need that sentence.
Yeah, you don't
because
even need that, because you have
renewals
renewal down below the
above
box.
yes. The only thing that I didn't know if I need to specify is, sorry. Most items will renew twice. If there's a hold on it, it will not renew.
Mhm.
The other thing is that if the ILS considers it a very high ticket item, some new stuff will only check out for 2 weeks because of the demand. And so it's not 28 days, it's 2 weeks.
Mhm.
So I don't know if we need.
So how do you make that known?
You
I mean, that's how you operate, but how do you make that known to the patrons?
When their item comes up to checkout, you scan it and it says this item, will only, it pops up on the screen and says,
So you have,
this
it in-
item will only check out for 2 weeks. We say that to the patron and then we print them out a receipt and say, hey, this one's 2 weeks. And some libraries will put, a 2-week sticker on there. Special item.
Do you want to have that in the policy?
We can, yeah, I would suggest changing that checkout limits and loan periods to the maximum number of items a library using get checked out at any one time is 100. At least in most items will renew 2 times. It's already in the renewal section book. Put in items in high demand may have additional limitations in one period.
there you go.
Items in high demand may,
Have additional limitations in one period. I'll email you this. I put
Perfect.
it in red lines in here, and I
Okay.
deleted those 2 columns. And we may want to put in another catch-all of items in high demand or not listed below.
Like the hotspots, do those have a different time limit?
hotspots check out for 7 days, as do the laptops. I hadn't added those to the list because they're brand new.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm gonna add those just to line.
Thank you. Yes, Kim, this is why we have a group.
Hey, pick that up, yeah.
Yes,
And then I was like, well, wait, maybe we can't take them out of line. Like, well, having a conversation in my head.
Yeah.
That's a really good catch.
Yeah, it is.
And then we've got most of our materials may be renewed twice unless the library can select. There is a hold on the item for another patron or the material in the store collection. That have been extended off.
That's simplified.
Okay, so my clock is saying on my phone 2:27.
Yeah.
Are we wanting to extend the meeting to finish this policy? Do we want to pick this up again next month? What are your thoughts? Because it's 2 more pages, so we do have a chunk.
Well, what's the,
I need to go, so I'd like to put it off till next month.
okay. We can do that. I'm okay with that. Bob?
Yeah, I could go anywhere, that's.
Okay. So we can stop with the first page. We're done with the first page, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Any more corrections or additions or discussion about the first page?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so we'll put the other 2 pages for circulation on our agenda for next meeting.
Okay.
Okay, and that takes care of the policy reviews for this time around, right? These 2 policies?
Yes.
Okay, that's good.
Were there any other policies that, we wanted to specifically put, I mean, we've got on the agenda to review policies.
Right.
If we know ahead of time,
Maybe we can, next time we meet, we can again take a look at what needs to come up next for review.
The one that I had next on the list would be our computer use
Internet.
policy, or yeah, internet and computer use policy. And one that I have brand new that I've learned about at my meeting is a film policy for individuals who come in and film the library for First Amendment. It's a new policy. I think that people should have them so that staff knows how to behave if someone comes in and starts filming for First Amendment.
I think I read about that.
I'm sorry, I can't think of what exactly it's called.
public spaces.
Filming in public spaces, yes.
Yeah.
To make sure that we do not violate their rights.
Okay.
So it's one of those things where they are allowed to do that. We are not allowed to not ask them to do that, but we can dictate which behaviors we find appropriate when they're doing that.
This is for filming in public spaces?
Yes, so that's a new policy that I'd like us to research this
Wow,
year.
that's a can of worms, in my opinion.
Yeah,
So I know,
I didn't know anything about it, so I haven't done any research on it. It's just something that someone mentioned that I was like maybe we should talk about this as a board.
yeah, we probably should.
Yes,
I think I read about it when they were talking about librarians leaving libraries.
okay.
Yes.
Oh,
Over challenges.
got it. So people are coming in, demanding things and filming it.
Yes,
Got it.
And
Okay.
because everybody's attending that.
there are rules and regs about filming people though.
Yeah.
Right.
And so that's a big deal because coming in and filming people and putting them on social media. I mean, there's some real
Yeah.
issues around that. I mean, constitutional things around that. So anyway,
Yes.
yeah,
So
we
that's,
do need to talk about it.
Yeah.
that one I think will take us more than
That's not-
That'll take a little time.
Yeah.
Correct.
I think we do finish the circulation next time and then I found a lot of stuff that I had questions about in the internet. Because we need to update that because it strictly refers a lot just to computers. And we really need to think about tablets,
Right,
phones,
right.
everything.
yes.
Okay, so are we gonna, do we want that to be put on the agenda for discussion next time, the internet policy, after we review this one? Okay? So the internet policy will be put on there.
And the children's policy.
I think we'll should we do collection, computer use,
Yeah.
then move to film?
I don't
I
think we're gonna have
agree.
time.
It's like, oh, we're just gonna get through all that.
We're not gonna have time to do the, yeah. You might give us an introduction after having done some research, Andy, but.
If we're 6-year-olds,
Yeah.
they're done with things in 10 minutes.
It'll take them 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
So our next meeting is scheduled for May 8th.
March,
On March 8th, way ahead, the sun has got to my head. So March 8th. I'm thinking, if there might be a need for a meeting after our discussion, and, we can call that as a result after we have that workshop, if we get the workshop.
Yeah.
Okay. All
And I
right,
expect, I know what has been done in the past as a doodle poll has been put out and then whoever can attend between this, if the meeting is agreed to, it's kind of what date and time to the vast majority of people.
can be there, right? Okay, any other comments by anyone? Jenny, I really appreciate the work that you're doing on all this stuff. It's fantastic and bringing it forward for us to review for our library. That's good.
I
And
appreciate all of your guys' help, because it's invaluable.
I also want to say, I appreciate you going to these meetings and, you know, getting the training up to date on all the other things and anything new that you bring back is really appreciated. Like the meeting that you brought back that we have an opportunity to go to.
Yes.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, anything else?
Move adjourned.
Move approved.
I thought it had to be seconded.
Well, okay.